Welcome to Radio Express World News, presented by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States.
Good day, listeners. Happy to be back after the short break with World News from Radio Express. Here's the top news. The culmination of the United States elections has given the country Joe Biden as the new president-elect. However, Biden's victory is still not accepted by Mr. Trump, who has been spreading accusations about election fraud. And his supporters, who embrace his theory, engaged in a rally on Saturday in Washington, which led to violence and arrests. That said, a steadily increasing number of Republicans are requesting the president to accept defeat and allow for a seamless presidential transition. Paying less heed to Trump's baseless claims, Joe Biden has already begun chalking out new policy steps. To this effect, the new Chief of Staff Ron Klain announced on Sunday that one of his immediate plans is to address the surging coronavirus and that the team's key scientific advisors would begin consultations this week with officials at drug companies. Biden's priority in addressing the pandemic seems more appropriate now, as officials have reported more than 11 million cases of coronavirus as of Sunday. 10 states recorded single-day highs, while 29 states added more cases in just 1 week. The coronavirus in America is peaking in several states once again, and governors of some states are reinstating coronavirus restrictions. Despite the dipping economy in view of the rapidly growing infections, stagnant businesses and loss of jobs, Trump's coronavirus task force has not been allowed to communicate with President-elect Biden's transition team. Commenting on this unresponsive behavior of the task force, the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said that it's almost like passing a baton in a race. You don't want to stop. He also mentioned his interest in working together again, as he said, "Of course, it would be better if we could start working with them." Moving on, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced on Sunday that he was going into isolation because he came into contact with a lawmaker who had tested positive for coronavirus. His office stated that he is not showing any symptoms, but experts say that it's still too early to assess the duration of immunity to the coronavirus, but a relapse is known to be rare, especially if it's only a few months after the first illness. Although in quarantine, Mr. Johnson will continue to work from Downing Street. And in Peru, the brutal killing of 2 protesters has led to the stepping down of the interim president Manuel Merino. According to sources, 2 protesters that were part of the pro-democracy demonstrations on Saturday were brutally killed by the police, following which Mr. Merino announced his resignation. The victims, Jack Pintado Sanchez and Jordan Sotelo Camargo, were protesting against the removal of Martin Vizcarra as president with thousands of other people. They were known to be the first deaths in the week-long situation of unrest. For the first time in the history of free trade, leaders of China and 14 other countries in the Asia-Pacific region have signed one of the biggest free trade deals encompassing 2.2 billion people and 30% of the world's economic output. This was not an overnight call, but an 8-year-long period of negotiations that culminated in the association of 15 countries that signed what is called the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Deal. Some of the countries include Australia, Japan, New Zealand, South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Thailand, among others. The purpose of the deal is to have a well-defined set of terms of trade in goods and services, which also includes cross-border investment as well as new rules for electronic commerce and intellectual property. According to the signatories, the deal would form a crucial part in their overall plans to recover from the pandemic. Over to Iran. Health authorities recorded around 12,543 new cases of COVID-19, taking the country's overall caseload to over 762,000. The death toll has gone up to 41,493 with the record of 459 new fatalities. The sudden spike has moved President Hassan Rouhani to call for immediate action from the nation and the government to curb the surge. In effect, non-essential businesses and services have been ordered to shut down in Tehran and in 100 other cities, and cars would be banned from driving in or out of those cities. And in India, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar participated in the East Asia Summit, in which he reaffirmed that the Code of Conduct negotiations between India and China should be free of prejudice and consistent with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Efforts are underway to curb the spread of the coronavirus in the capital. To this extent, plans are on to airlift doctors to areas surrounding New Delhi and also double the number of tests as the capital battles another surge of the deadly virus. Over to a quick look at the coronavirus situation across Europe. France continues to uphold its second lockdown, which was enforced on October 30th, as instances of new infections fluctuate. Restrictions are still in place, including the closure of restaurants and bars, prohibition of non-essential travel, and compulsory testing of travelers. Vienna will start a 3-week lockdown starting Tuesday to address the recent surge, while daily infections continue to rise in Germany as a one-day high of 23,542 new cases was recorded on Friday. Ending today's bulletin with news from the land of the Sphinx. Excavation in the ancient burial ground of Saqqara unearthed around 40 funeral statues and over 100 delicately painted wooden coffins, some of which had mummies inside. Archaeologists call this the largest find at the site this year. The Egyptian Minister of Tourism and Antiquities told reporters that the coffins and artifacts date back to 2,500 years and yet are in perfect condition of preservation. The excavated items will be exhibited at several museums in Egypt. With that, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned for the next program on Radio Express.
To receive Radio Express English news and English programs in your WhatsApp, please send a WhatsApp message English programs to 90727 95547. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Radio Express. Thank you.